Welcome to Earth Explorers. Today, we will discuss one of the most awe-inspiring and terrifying natural disasters, earthquakes. Whether you stay in a place that is susceptible to earthquakes or not, it is imperative to know these effective geological events. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, let me ask you something. Have you ever skilled an earthquake? If you have, you comprehend that feeling of utter helplessness when the floor under your toes starts off evolving to shake violently. Stick around to find out what causes earthquakes, and why some regions experience them more frequently than others. Number 7. Not all earthquakes are created equal. When it comes to earthquakes, no longer all are created equal. Earthquakes come in unique sizes, with the magnitude scale ranging from 1 to 10. The greater the magnitude, the greater and greater detrimental the earthquake. However, even small earthquakes can cause harm and injury, relying on their vicinity and depth. It's imperative to apprehend the distinction between the magnitude and depth of an earthquake, as it helps decide the workable effect it can also have. In general, the magnitude of an earthquake is measured with the use of the Richter scale, which is based totally on the amplitude of the seismic waves generated by way of the earthquake. Each expansion in magnitude represents a tenfold make bigger in the strength released, which means that a magnitude 6 earthquake releases 10 instances extra strength than a magnitude 5 earthquake. However, the depth of an earthquake refers to the quantity of shaking felt at a unique location, which relies upon elements such as distance from the epicenter and the kind of soil or rock underlying the area. It's also worth noting that earthquakes can have unique kinds of motion, inclusive of horizontal, vertical, and rotational. This kind of action can affect the harm brought on through the earthquake, as nicely as the attainable for secondary risks such as landslides or liquefaction. Number 6. Earthquakes do not just happen on land. While earthquakes are regularly related to the shaking of the ground, they can also happen underwater, acknowledged as a tsunami. These underwater earthquakes can motivate huge waves that can be simply as devastating as the quake itself. Some of the most effective and negative earthquakes on record have been underwater, such as the 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami that killed over 200,000 people. Underwater earthquakes happen when tectonic plates that make up the ocean flooring go in opposition to every other, growing friction and stress that can lead to an unexpected launch of energy. This electricity can motivate the overlying water to be displaced, developing a sequence of waves that can tour throughout the ocean at excessive speeds. When these waves attain shallow coastal areas, they can develop at peak and reason catastrophic damage. It's worth noting that no longer all underwater earthquakes generate tsunamis, nor do all earthquakes on land generate good-sized seismic waves. The variable for harm relies upon a range of factors, along with the magnitude and depth of the earthquake, as properly as the proximity of populated areas. Number 5. Earthquakes can set off different natural disasters. While earthquakes can be negatively adequate on their own, they can also set off different herbal mess-ups such as landslides and volcanic eruptions. When an earthquake occurs, it can motivate the floor to shake, which can destabilize slopes and set off landslides. The shaking can also cause adjustments in groundwater levels, which can lead to liquefaction, where the soil will become like quicksand and loses its capacity to assist structures. In some cases, earthquakes can also set off volcanic eruptions using releasing the strain on magma chambers under the surface. This can reason the magma to upward jostle and subsequently result in an eruption. For example, the 2011 Tohoku earthquake in Japan is a concept to have brought on the eruption of Mount Shinmo, which had been dormant for over 50 years. It's crucial to think about the practicable secondary risks when getting ready for an earthquake and creating emergency response plans. Landslides, liquefaction, and volcanic eruptions can all pose full-size dangers to humans and infrastructure, and grasping these dangers can assist to mitigate the achievable damage. Number 4. Earthquakes can be predicted, however no longer with ideal accuracy. While earthquakes are frequently thought of as unpredictable events, scientists have made a big growth in predicting them in the latest years. By monitoring seismic pastimes and different geophysical data, scientists can perceive areas that are at greater hazard of an earthquake and estimate the chance of a quake going on shortly. However, earthquake prediction is still an imperfect science. While some warning signs, such as foreshocks, might also point out an impending earthquake, they are now not continually dependable indicators. Also, the timing and region of earthquakes are notoriously challenging to predict, and many quakes happen without any warning at all. Despite these limitations, earthquake prediction lookup is vital for creating tremendous earthquake early warning structures and making them ready for future earthquakes. Number 3, earthquakes can have long-lasting effects. The immediate results of an earthquake can be devastating, however, the long-term outcomes can be simply as significant. Earthquakes can purpose harm to infrastructure, disrupt quintessential offerings such as water and electricity, and displace communities. Rebuilding after an earthquake can take years, and the psychological effect on survivors can be long-lasting. For example, the 2011 Christchurch earthquake in New Zealand resulted in over 10,000 homes being demolished, and many residents experience ongoing intellectual fitness problems in the years following the quake. It's fundamental to reflect on consideration of the long-term outcomes of earthquakes and creating emergency response plans and helping affected communities in the aftermath of a quake. Number 2, earthquakes are turning into extra frequent due to human activity. While earthquakes are a natural phenomenon, human pastimes can make contributions to their frequency and intensity. Activities such as oil and gasoline extraction, geothermal electricity production, and wastewater injection have all been linked to increased seismic pastime in certain areas. For example, using hydraulic fracturing or fracking to extract oil and fuel can create microseismic events that can expand the danger of large earthquakes. Similarly, the injection of wastewater from oil and gasoline operations into underground wells can make a bigger strain on faults, main to earthquakes. It's integral to think about the viable seismic risks related to human endeavor when planning and regulating these activities. Number 1, earthquake proofing can save lives. While it is not possible to stop earthquakes, some steps can be taken to decrease their impact. Earthquake proofing, also caused by seismic retrofitting, includes editing constructions and infrastructure to higher stand up to the shaking of an earthquake. Examples of earthquake-proofing measures consist of reinforcing partitions and foundations, putting in shock absorbers or dampers, and securing objects that ought to grow to be hazardous in the course of an earthquake. Earthquake-proofing can make a sizable distinction in the survival prices of humans and the toughness of infrastructure at some point during an earthquake. Many nations with excessive earthquake risk, such as Japan, have applied rigorous seismic retrofitting requirements to guard their communities. At Earth Explorers, we're passionate about exploring the world around us and sharing our discoveries with you. From natural wonders to historical landmarks, we're dedicated to uncovering the secrets of our planet and bringing them to life through our videos. Our team comprises experts in their fields, from geologists to historians, and we're always on the lookout for the next adventure. So, if you have any suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. We can't wait to share our next adventure with you. See you in the next video.